coming up on Focal Point. I'm Michael Epps, and I'll tell you why you might not have to pay 10 cents for each one of these.
Within the next decade, the U.S. will be short 130,000 doctors across the country. I'll tell you why up next on Focal Point.
MSU Interim President John Engler makes some changes, and the reviews are mixed. We get the opinion of a new board of trustees trying to rebuild the university name. Focal Point starts now. Almost a year since the Larry Nassar case, MSU Interim President John Engler is making some changes to a fund set up to support survivors of Larry Nassar. Good evening and welcome to Focal Point. I'm Michael Epps.
And I'm Deja Green. New news in the Nassar scandal tonight. It's called the Healing Assistance Fund, and changes are being made. Not all of them are popular, and we talked to a new MSU trustee about it. It's been almost a year since the Nassar scandal.
We're doing a disservice to them.
After the scandal, MSU encouraged students at the university would do better.
Just feeling like we failed again.
Just yesterday, President Engler disbanded the Healing Assistance Fund, which is meant to help survivors of Larry Nassar.
Survivors that haven't been able to afford treatment have either been trying to pay for it out of pocket or not receiving treatment.
The fund began last December, and it wasn't even open a full year before it was suspended in July due to fraud concerns.
I think what's important to note is that the Healing Assistance Fund has been closed since July. They are also in agreement that this fund should have never been closed, temporarily, and certainly should not be closed permanently.
In a statement, board chairman Brian Breslin says, now that the university has fulfilled its commitment and deposited the settlement funds, we support redirecting the remaining Healing Assistance Fund toward the $500 million lawsuit settlement. MSU board-elect Kelly T-Bay calls ending the fund inhumane.
For me, it's just like immediately getting that sick pit in my stomach feeling, knowing that the survivors are not getting the treatment that they need and deserve.
T-Bay and other board members want to find a way to help.
If it's not this fund, it's another fund that we create to make sure that people are receiving treatment.
So we'll see what happens, but for now, T-Bay says it's about having those hard conversations among the board and sticking together as a community.
There are some last-minute bills trying to get passed in the Michigan legislature. Gloria Nzeka spent some time at the Capitol this week and joins us in the newsroom now.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, before the Michigan legislature turns over from Republican to Democrat control, Republicans are trying to crank out bills. The most recent limb taxation focused on minimum wage and the amount of paid sick days.
Last summer, over 400,000 people signed a petition to approve measures that would boost paid sick leave and increase the minimum wage to $12 an hour by 2022.
The legislature voted for both of those measures.
And now, during the lame duck session,
the legislature introduced two bills to amend the two proposals that are now enshrined in current law.
We have these two bills initiated from the Senate that significantly alter them. They're almost unrecognizable.
One of the changes will reduce paid sick leave from a maximum of 70 hours to 40 hours in a year.
Filling the hallways leading to the House chambers, Michigan voters came out in numbers to remind lawmakers what democracy looks like.
I'm fed up and I'm tired of everything that's going on. So I'm here today to have my voice heard and my presence shown.
The bills that the legislature passed would exclude more than half of Michigan's workforce.
That includes part-time workers and those that work in companies with less than 50 employees.
It's a dangerous game that they playing because they hurting and breaking up families.
The bills have cleared the House and the Senate and are now in the hands of Governor Rick Snyder.
And we hope the governor will show a spine and refuse to sign this bill that has come to his desk.
And he has 14 days to do it.
The new proposed bill also includes a section on the minimum wage for tipped workers, which will now be $4.58. And you know, Michael, if Governor Snyder signs this bill, it could go into effect as soon as next year.
All right, well, thanks, Gloria. I guess we'll see if all this gets passed before the next session. Well, the midterm election saw a significant victory for progressive candidates across the board, but the Republicans have moved swiftly to introduce new bills that may limit the authority of incoming Democratic candidates. A slew of bills passed during the House during the lame duck session, limiting the power of the incoming governor, Secretary of State, and Attorney General. Some call the move a last-minute GOP power grab. It allows the House of Representatives and the Senate to intervene in any legal proceedings involving the state of Michigan. Traditionally, that power belonged to the Attorney General or the governor.
That are nothing more than a power grab against the incoming administrative positions that are going to be held by Democrats.
Well, the fact of the matter is they've been in control of every level of state government for 7 years and 11 months, and they have not done what they're doing now.
And if these bills don't get passed before the end of the year, they would have to be reintroduced after the Democratic officials are sworn in. Well, the Labor Department released the job report for November today, and it fell short of what everyone was expecting. 155,000 jobs were created last month versus the estimated almost 200,000. The unemployment rate held at 3.7%, the lowest it's been since 1969.
Americans took some time to mourn the loss of our 41st Commander-in-Chief this week. Millions watched the funeral for former President George H.W. Bush. Bush died last week at 94 years old. The funeral service was held Wednesday in Washington, D.C. before his remains were flown to his presidential library in Texas. All 5 sitting U.S. presidents paid their respects, including an emotional eulogy from his son, George W. Bush.
The best father a son or daughter could have. And in our grief, let us smile knowing that Dad is hugging Robin and holding Mom's hand again.
It's been a tough year for the Bush family after former First Lady Barbara died earlier this year. Bush died exactly 1 week before the anniversary of Pearl Harbor. He was 17 years old when bombs dropped on the harbor. A Bush biographer says it's the very reason the president enlisted and became a naval pilot. 77 years ago, the Japanese surprised America by bombing the naval base in Hawaii. 3,700 Americans died, leading to the United States' involvement in the Second World War. Today, several memorial ceremonies have taken place, including the throwing of a wreath into the harbor.
Well, taking back cans has been a Michigan staple since the bottle deposit law was established in the 70s. It's been a sweet 10 cents for every can and bottle you return, but now that could change. Who would have thought?
Ain't it great?
An ROTC graduate heading to the Army,
18th Fires Brigade, part of 7th Division,
is sorting beer bottles.
You got a Army officer just sitting out, hanging out, stacking bottles.
Duke works at Tom's Party Store in East Lansing.
I love working here. I do. It's almost like a little subculture.
He works the counter, but sometimes has to do the dirty job.
I mean, this is worse than mopping floors.
Sorting cans and bottles to send out for the bottle deposit refund.
And so we have to organize it by distributor.
10 cents for each one. But a new bill introduced last week aims to repeal the bottle deposit law, eliminating the 10-cent tag on bottles and cans.
I'm not sure it has a chance of passing.
Now, the 10 cents that you pay at the counter for every bottle and can you buy doesn't help as much as you think. They paid 10 cents for the product, so they have to send these returns back out to get the money back. And sorting through all these, well, that's a problem on its own.
It's labor intensive for us. For the consumer, it's not a good deal either.
The bill is intended to help promote community recycling programs, which will encourage recycling everything, not just bottles and cans.
I think everyone's interested in recycling, or at least 90% of the population, if it's convenient.
But Meridian Township Recycling Coordinator Leroy Harvey wants the current law to stay.
I think that we should definitely continue the bottle bill and kind of promote its success a little more.
Rich is the owner of Tom's.
That's 53 years.
And would love for the bill to be passed.
It's labor intensive for us. For the consumer, it's not a good deal either.
But he's not too hopeful.
It's easier for them to say, hey, we're just sticking with what we have.
Experts say the law that has been on the books for over 40 years likely won't be repealed anytime soon. And workers like Duke aren't done with this job just yet. And this law going away isn't the only option. It could also expand to water bottles and other drink containers.
It's no secret that medical students rack up a ton of debt. Recent reports show us that the doctor's salary is not worth the financial burdens. As Kendall Ashman reports, by 2030, the U.S. will be short 130,000 doctors nationwide.
So I'm actually the first person to get my bachelor's degree in my family.
For senior Macy Lockhart, she's also the first to receive something like this.
On behalf of the admissions committee and the entire Wayne State community, I'm excited to offer you a place in the 2019 freshman class at Wayne State University School of Medicine.
In a mission letter, she once dreamed of reading.
I guess I've always been someone who wanted to dedicate my life to others.
And now a reality. But that reality comes with a price. By the end of the next decade, the U.S. will be short of around 130,000 doctors across the country. And based on the limited access to primary doctors, people are relying on urgent cares and emergency rooms just for simple checkups.
They can't just make an appointment with their doctor because there's no doctors, basically.
Besides, for an aging population, the shortage of primary doctors falls on the financial burden for med students.
Part of their decision regarding what specialty to go into is based upon their ability to pay back their debt.
Sparrow Family and Medicine Dr. Randy Pearson says there's no secret. Specialty doctors receive significantly more than a primary doctor, up and over $100K more.
But they really need to look at how they fund residency positions and maybe put more preference to funding primary care spots.
An issue Macy is ready to take on.
These people really need someone, and I guess I felt like I needed to be that person.
In East Lansing, Kendall Ashman, Focal Point News.
And it's no surprise that the shortage of doctors is even worse in underserved areas. Macy, who we saw in the story, is from Flint, Michigan, and plans on returning home after she receives her MD.
Well, an artist in Bath is trying to save his work that township members want to destroy. Community members are stepping in to help save it. Focal Point's Kayla Hinton has the story.
Blue Loop was conceived about 2 years ago. I wanted to make a path through my woods, and I liked the idea of having art in natural settings.
For Robert Park, art is his life.
Oh, I've been doing it since grade school.
Right now, he's finishing up his backyard art installation, The Blue Loop.
I've noticed how the blue plastic, how it stands out so vividly.
But not without a few roadblocks.
It all started with a complaint apparently from a neighbor.
And although to Robert this is art, to the city, this property is just junk.
But they went in my backyard, in my woods, and they discovered my recycled blue plastic, which they had no concept of it being an art material. So right away their mind goes to, well, that's junk or trash.
The saying that goes, one man's art is somebody else's treasure, couldn't be more appropriate. In fact, a judge had to decide which was which.
He was contemplating, well, is this a First Amendment right? Is this, can something be art and trash at the same time?
Ultimately, the judge decided against Robert.
The judge took the conservative route, and he decided, well, the township's ordinance is really not against the law.
But with the help of Blue Ducks, community members are fighting for artist rights.
So the community has been just overwhelmingly supportive of him. It's been wonderful, all the people that are coming in and buying these ducks. They're from all over the political spectrum.
One of the only items the township is letting Robert keep on his property is this blue duck.
The judge, he said, you know, a duck, you know, everybody would say, well, that's like a toy or something. That's not trash. People could have it, kids, and they could have it in their front yard.
These rubber duckies, signs, and pins all go toward helping Park pay attorney fees.
People have paid up to $3,000 for one of my works, but now township is going to pay $17,000 to get rid of it.
During the appeal process, Park waits and sees more people finding his art, which is what most artists want anyway.
I assume it's going to be there next year. Counting on it. It's just amazing that it's turned into the most publicized artwork I've ever done.
In Bath Township, Kayla Hinton, Focal Point News.
Wow, what a story. And on this Saturday, you can meet Robert at the Eggleston Art Gallery in Bath Township.
A student group trying to install more American flags is facing some flap.
Plus, after the Victoria's Secret fashion show, the company is getting backlash about the Madi bottle image. We'll have reaction after the break.
Welcome back. An event as big as the Super Bowl aired on television last week, but this year its big audience wasn't the reason it became the talk of the town. Shelby Sacco has the story and the controversy along with it.
Fashion is in full force here at MSU.
So VIM is Michigan State University's only fashion, beauty, lifestyle, and basically just cultural magazine.
I never realized how important VIM really was and what we were doing, but people notice us. They realize the diversity and inclusiveness we're trying to have with everyone in MSU's campus, and I think it's really making a stand for others to follow.
The magazine launched this week, but it's not the only piece of fashion making news.
What's the one event every year that people have their eyes glued to the TV and have big viewing parties for? No, not an MSU football game and not the Super Bowl, but the Victoria's Secret fashion show.
3.3 million viewers tuned in to watch this special, but what they didn't see were any plus-size models or members from the LGBTQ community.
So with our model casting calls, we really try to advertise anyone is welcome, any gender, any size, shape, age, and we really want to bring them into the magazine because we have realized within the years we've continued to grow and we want to grow with all people included.
Inclusiveness. It's what sets the two VIM editors apart from the rest of the fashion industry.
There's so many different members of different communities in VIM, and being able to just all sit down, no matter if you're gay, straight, whatever it is, and be able to create something so great that everyone can relate to, I think has taught me a lot.
And it's better to be more accepting and realize what's happening in front of them and that history is changing.
From East Lansing, I'm Shelby Sacco, Focal Point News.
Will this event change alongside the future of LGBTQ rights, or will it stand as another roadblock on the path to equal representation and diversity?
It's that time of the year for college students. Are you feeling the pinch, Deja?
It's getting a little rough.
Michigan State is trying to ease that pain with sugar, one sweet fried circle of goodness at a time. We're talking donuts.
Plus, this MSU student is trying to get more American flags around campus, but it's been harder than you would seem. Samantha Bassarico has more with our campus report.
Yes, Deja and Michael, there's one thing that pushes through no matter what: patriotism. As Focal Point's Tony Black shows us, patriotism is strong, yet there seems to be some forces pulling it down.
When you look on the campus of Michigan State,
the buildings are pretty bare. There's nothing on them really. It's all just brick.
You see a lot of green and white, but red, white, and blue is a different story.
There's no American flags.
MSU student Sergey Kelly noticed a lack of pride in the residence areas and wanted to change that by adding a flagpole in each neighborhood.
American flag on them and also Spartan flag.
Out of the 8 mounted flagpoles on the 5,200-acre campus, only 3 are in proximity to neighborhoods, including this one right here at the Union.
We're really focusing on adding more flags to where people actually are.
To do so, the proposed $25,000 project has to be funded. IPF would install the poles, but they say it could cost more than that.
You could be talking 8 to 10 per flagpole.
So where would the money come from?
Campus partners, donors.
But if you noticed missing from that list, maybe the most important, the university itself. Kelly said so far the university hasn't donated any money to the project.
For the whole university, it's not that much money.
Now, Kelly's optimistic that the university will help, but if they don't or don't even approve the plan, he sees it as a reflection on the university.
For me, it'd be a serious, I guess, judgment to the university's values.
And while values come into play, adding more American flags could be seen as controversial.
No, it can go to the both ways.
I would hate to see the American flag become a political symbol or a partisan symbol.
Yet it almost has. We reached out to the college Democrats who are listed on the group of supporters. They gave us this statement saying in part, "We never stated our support for this project and were not aware that we were placed on the supporters list," adding they need more information before supporting or disapproving of the project. And with that, True says the university also has to think before making their decision.
They need to be very conscious about all of the voices out there.
But through all the struggles, Kelly's still pushing forward.
We're still going ahead.
In East Lansing, Tony Black, Focal Point News.
Kelly has hopes that this project will be completed by the end of the spring semester. If you are interested in helping the project, you can donate to their GoFundMe. It's a part of campus that mostly goes unnoticed, but the MSU Food Bank that opened in 1993 provides an invaluable service.
Brody Dining Hall on Michigan State's campus is the largest non-military cafeteria in the world. There are 20 of these. With all those resources, you wouldn't expect students going hungry.
What we found was that 4.4% of MSU students are in the low to very low food security category.
On a campus that has 9 cafeterias, it also has a food bank.
Well, back in 1990, with the help of some of the faculty and staff here, we realized that there were students who were food insecure. At that time, nobody would even think that a student couldn't afford to have money for food and stuff.
This year, they've hit a milestone.
Now, the MSU Food Bank celebrates 25 years of fighting food insecurity with options like protein and produce, feeding more than 6,000 clients a year.
It wasn't really institutionally supported back then, but then the institution came along and said, you know, what do we need to help make students academically successful?
With the help of a grant, the food bank is finding out how many students are going meal to meal.
I started getting more involved with the food bank when we got a grant-funded research project. We're calling it Nourishing Success, and it was research we wanted to do to figure out the prevalence of food insecurity on campus.
They're like the perfect avocados.
There's nothing worse than having hunger if you're trying to study and learn and be educated. Hunger is one of the basic impediments to academic success.
They are working hard to fight the stigma that comes along with a food bank,
so that students can feel free to utilize the food bank in order to help take better care of themselves with food.
The food bank is open for all students. Just show your student ID. For a schedule of distribution dates, go to foodbank.msu.edu. From virtual reality to a new app on your phone, engineers create new and exciting inventions every day. And at today's 25th Annual Design Day, the College of Engineering showcased some of their students' most impressive work. The engineering students worked all semester on their new inventions, from the planning, design to construction. And at the end of the semester, the students showcased their work to the public.
It's really cool for us because we spent the entire semester putting this together, doing all the math, the engineering, getting all the resources, the materials and all that, spending hours and hours, lots of coffee out in the shop, just working like our butts off all day and all night. And we finally get to like cool and just like show it off to everybody, and everyone's asking us a bunch of questions and they're all really interested in seeing it, and it works too. So that's it, just fantastic.
A project like this gives them a real-world look at how a project's going to work in a career situation, because it's a large team doing a pretty complicated task, and so the team here was able to take different parts of this project and compartmentalize it while also coming up with a full design and collaborating with us on how to implement that design. They did an exceptional job, and we're very happy with the result. So.
Finals week is upon us, and we all know just how stressful it can be. The MSU Library found a way to sweeten the week. Night of 1,000 Donuts at the main library was full of students in need of a snack break. The library provided free donuts, that's right, free donuts, coffee, and orange juice to help the students out in their own way.
Well, the library in general tries to be like a source of support for students, and so we try to help out when students are maybe under a lot of stress. And if that means some free donuts and some free coffee, I'm willing to do that.
The MSU Library has events going on all finals week. Visit lib.msu.edu for a calendar of events. That's all for campus. I'm Samantha Bassarico.
Well, Michigan State football is headed to a bowl game.
That's right, Deja, but right now, the Spartan soccer team is the talk of the campus.
Andrew Burkle joins us in the Spartan newsroom for these stories and more.
That's right, Michael. Who would have thought the Michigan State soccer team would be the talk of the fall? We'll have that story and more after the break.
Students are crucial to WKAR's success. It's a great opportunity for the students to learn, and it's a great chance for us to teach students so that they're ready to go out into the real world. Students are the heartbeat of WKAR.
Backstage Pass has given me hands-on experience working with a team and working with the equipment.
Going to class, you learn all the stuff, but then being able to apply it while you're a student as well is really fantastic.
It's been awesome seeing a project go from just emails to a full production day where we have bands coming in. It's been awesome to see that bigger picture come to life.
I'm always excited when I get to work on live productions, especially Backstage Pass.
Having this knowledge at my disposal while I'm in college is really beneficial to what I want to do after I graduate.
It's extremely important to have students because it helps with the success of WKAR and public broadcast as a whole. The opportunities are endless for students here.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Andrew Burkle with this week's sports. We can all agree MSU had a mostly forgettable season in football, but the Spartans have a chance at ending on a high note. They're headed to a West Coast bowl game for the second straight year, but it may be one you've never heard of.
Odds are, you've probably heard of the Rose Bowl.
Great parades. I watched many of their games, and there was a whole bunch of thrillers that year that they won the Rose Bowl, and that was far and away the most fun I'd ever had watching football my whole life was that season.
But not all 40 bowl games are as big as the Rose Bowl. And some, well, you might not have heard of at all.
Have you heard of the Rose Bowl before?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Red Box Bowl?
No, never heard of it.
Have you ever heard of the Red Box Bowl?
No, but you know, the Lugnet Stadium's no longer Lugnet Stadium, so it's a trade-off. You know, everybody's eating corporate sponsored these days.
When you think of Red Box, you think of movies, not football. But earlier this week, Michigan State found out they'd be traveling to Santa Clara to play in the Red Box Bowl game.
The Spartans had big expectations this season, but fell short and finished with a 7-5 record.
Part of it was injuries, though, on offense. You know, Lewerke got hurt, L.J. Scott.
It all adds up to a bowl game many of us have never heard of. This time, it's the Red Box Bowl against the Oregon Ducks.
I'm a little upset about it. I would have wished they got a better bowl, did better in the season.
The team itself is remaining positive about the game. It's a good opportunity to improve against a big-name program.
And as I said earlier, coming out here, being a part of San Francisco Bay Area, and then also playing in the stadium, it all sort of lines up for us. So we're very, very excited about it. Quality opponent. You can bet the place is going to be green, I guess.
MSU was shooting for the roses this year, but instead found the movies. But going to Santa Clara, California for a week could be worse.
California, though, not too shabby either. Nice place to go for the winter, too.
The Spartans may be headed to the Golden State, but it hasn't been a Hollywood senior year for running back L.J. Scott. Head coach Mark D'Antonio told the media last month that Scott would take a redshirt year and return in 2019. Scott sat out the last 4 games as the Spartans tumbled to a 7-5 finish. But that whole plan changed this week. Scott tweeted on Wednesday that he will play in the bowl game and forego the redshirt to enter the NFL draft. The NCAA's new redshirt rule this year states that if a player has played in 4 games or fewer, he can gain another year of eligibility. Scott played in the first game of the year and then injured his ankle in the Arizona State game. He returned in the Michigan and Purdue games, but then decided to sit out the last month to keep the bowl game and the bowl game for the redshirt. The running back told fans on Twitter that after a ton of thought, prayer, and careful consideration, he felt the time was right to go pro. Scott and the Spartans will take on Oregon on New Year's Eve. Kickoff is set for 3 p.m. Eastern at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, the same venue that will play host to the national championship game on January 7th. The Michigan State's men's basketball team has been on a grueling stretch as of late, 5 games in 11 days. They went 3-1 to start that stretch, heading into the final game Monday night against Iowa. Matt McQuaid missed his 3rd straight game due to a leg bruise, but his absence was no problem for Michigan State at all. Iowa coach Fran McCaffrey said this team is deadly off missed baskets. They show that here as Cassius Winston finds freshman Aaron Henry in the transition. He slams it down and MSU takes a 7-point lead. Now later in the half, Xavier Tillman with a great defense blocks the layup, and here they go again. Winston is always running the break. He decides to take this one himself. He puts up the 3 and drills it. He had 8 points and 12 assists, but Nick Ward was the star of the night. He led all scorers with 26 points. That's his career high. Here, Cassius Winston drives, finds him down low. He puts it in to get MSU up 10 before the break, and the Spartans would run away with it in the second half. They take down a good Iowa team, 90-68. Focal Point's Michael Epps has more from the President Center on Ward's big night.
After a phenomenal sophomore season, Nick Ward considered going to the NBA. Now, he decided to stay in East Lansing, and that's already paying dividends. He had a monster night tonight, going perfect from the field, but the trick is he didn't even know it.
To be honest, I had no idea that I was 10 from the floor. I was just playing, trying to make, easy plays for my teammates. They'll pass me the ball, make great plays for me. So I just tried to, give them an assist, really.
I mean, he's a different player, and he's focused in 99% of the time now. So I think I will say that he's off to as good a start because we don't play another Big Ten game for 3 weeks.
And the Spartans will get a much-needed rest before taking on Florida on Saturday. From the Breslin Center, I'm Michael Epps.
Thanks, Michael. Kenny Goins and Xavier Tillman also had career high in points to lead Michigan State to victory. That game at Florida is set for a noon tip-off tomorrow. The women's basketball team traveled to Oakland on Wednesday. The Spartans led by just 5 points after the first quarter, but went off in the second, outscoring Oakland 30-7. Point guard Taryn McCutcheon led the Spartans in scoring. She had 19 points on the night, including 5 three-pointers. Senior Jenna Allen also had 16 points. MSU had 6 players in total in double figures en route to a 102-58 victory. Coach Susie Merchant said despite the score, the team was still tested.
Give Oakland a little bit of credit too, because I thought they were playing harder than we were. So it was our first road test. You know, obviously it's a mid-week game, and a school that obviously, you know, would love to beat Michigan State.
Spartans return home on Sunday to take on third-ranked Oregon. Tip-off is at 3 p.m. The men's soccer team is heading to the Final Four after beating James Madison University in an Elite Eight showdown last weekend. But it wasn't easy, and they got off to a rough start. JMU's Nicholas Maher gets a shot off in this one right here. He shoots it from right outside the box, and it hits the right post and goes in. Spartans would respond in the second half. Fari Mutatu sets up Ryan Sirkowski perfectly. He gets it past the goalie to tie it up at 1. Later, Connor Corrigan with another great assist to Sirkowski. This guy has been a scoring machine, and he comes up clutch in this one. His 8th goal of the year is the one that sends the Spartans to the College Cup. MSU gets over the hump that has kept them out of the Final Four since 1968. Head coach Damon Rensing and Sirkowski reflected on the emotions they felt once the clock hit 0.
I didn't tweet or text at all Saturday night. I just tried to kind of take it in and then try to respond to 375 unread text messages on Sunday.
Playing against James Madison in the Elite Eight game was something unbelievable. The crowd was amazing. To win that game just meant so much to us and to this university and to this program.
MSU is playing Akron right now, and they're trailing 4-0 with 15 minutes left. After losing 6 straight games, the Spartan hockey team has gotten back on track, rallying off 3 consecutive wins, including a winning pair against the 14th-ranked Michigan. Dan Cole looked to improve his conference record in his 2nd season coaching the Spartans. Let's jump ahead to the 3rd period. Tied at 2, Tara Hiroshi shoots it from the point. No good, but Cody Mullen is right there for the putback. That gives MSU the 2-1 lead, but it wouldn't last long. Just a minutes later, on the attack, Jack Becker has a clear shot at the net. He whiffs, but Nick Pastrioff is right there to put it past goalie Drew DeRitter. Ties it at 3. Now with 10 minutes left, MSU back on the attack. They have a 3-on-2, and Hiroshi carrying the puck. He finds Mitchell Lewandowski in perfect position. He gets a shot off, and it looks like the goalie stopped it, but it sneaks by him. Michigan State takes the lead back, and that would be the game winner. The Spartans take game 1 of the 2-game set 4-3. They would end up winning Saturday's game in Ann Arbor in a shootout. Cole spoke about how he's taken after a pretty legendary coach to try to keep a level head.
You know, you hope you don't waver too much, you know, and I like a lot of the stuff John Wooden had to say. You know, you don't get too high and you don't get too low. And I think some of the games we played when we lost a couple in a row, we played better than when we won a couple in a row. And I think from a mentality, it's important to keep that.
Spartans are playing at Wisconsin right now. They went down 3-0 and then tied it back up at 3. That's what's happening this week in sports. I'm Andrew Burkle.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Well, a lot has happened in Hollywood this week. Focal Point's Tiara Riddick fills us in.
Yes, Michael, it's been a pretty busy couple of days in the entertainment world, especially with award season coming up. Here's what's happening this week in entertainment. Nominations for the 2019 Golden Globes were announced Thursday morning. Vice leads the nominations with 6, A Star is Born, The Favorite, and Green Book each with 5. Sandra Oh and Andy Samberg will be hosting the ceremony on January 6th. And Grammy nominations were announced this morning with Kendrick Lamar leading the pack with 8 nominations and Drake close behind with 7. The ceremony will take place on February 10th. And the Oscars are looking for a new host. Kevin Hart quit just a few days after he was given the job. Hart quit after homophobic tweets from 2009 resurfaced. He later apologized to the LGBTQ community, saying he quit so he wouldn't be a distraction to the show and hopes he would have the opportunity to host sometime down the road. Here on campus, Fiddler on the Roof is at the Wharton Center this week. The Broadway show that's been around for more than 50 years is on a national tour. Cast members talk about how excited they are to be playing this iconic show.
I think, for me, like totally selfishly and personally, being able to celebrate my Jewish heritage is like very important to me, and to be able to share that with different parts of our nation that may not be familiar, because I think this show is so traditionally Jewish, but I also think that even if you're not Jewish, that you can resonate with what this community of people is going through. And I think the community itself, I think something that's so special about going on the road with this show is that we are our own. Whoa, let me try that again.
Fiddler on the Roof will be at the Wharton Center through Sunday. Tickets are available still at whartoncenter.com.
This thing on?
It's the day Marvel fans have been waiting for. The trailer for the newest Avengers movie, Avengers Endgame, dropped this morning. It's the sequel to the Avengers Infinity War. The film is scheduled to be released on April 26th.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. Hi, Mom.
And new to theaters today is Ben is Back, which is about 19-year-old Ben who returns home on Christmas Eve after battling a drug addiction. His mother, Holly, played by Julia Roberts, is relieved and welcoming about his return, but hopes she can keep him clean. That's your weekend entertainment. I'm Tiara Riddick.
Thanks, Tiara. Well, that's all we have for tonight's Focal Point. Deja, can you believe this is our final show?
I honestly can't, but at least we're getting closer to the holidays.
Well, it's been a great semester, and happy holidays to everyone. We'll be back with more Focal Point episodes after winter break. I'm Michael Epps.
And I'm Deja Green. Happy holidays.